Hey, what's up? It's your boy Jake Jones, and today we're gonna have a little big brain sesh with a little high IQ trip, another political test. However, I just looking at this one, I can tell it's a lot more detailed than the rest, so not gonna get a whole lot of stupid questions. So without further ado, agreement between allies to prevent border checks between them. Um, I don't know if I've said this on this channel before, but I've always been for open borders, purely for my own interests. So let me see. I support this not just with our allies, but with all nations. People should be free to enter any nation. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I'm not gonna read all these answers. Obviously, they're way too long, but I'm just gonna pick the one that stands out to me. Internet service providers. What about them? Should they be regulated? Fuck no. Isn't the whole point of the internet not having any regulation? I mean, I guess you could make a case for child porn. You got to regulate that somehow. Whatever. But that, to me, that has been a slippery slope. The nice thing about the internet is that it's so free already that it's really gonna take a lot of government force to regulate it. So we must make it blah blah blah. I can't. I really don't care about the issue. Outsourcing. Outsourcing jobs. Well, yeah, obviously that's a fucked up thing to do for corporations. Uh, I think the philosophy of realpolitik, which I'm a big proponent of, it's the idea that if you want to do business in a certain nation, then you have to respect the workers in that nation, right? To some extent. And America doesn't have that. We're unique in that sense. We have a shitty minimum wage that's like literally unlivable even in the cheapest states. 7.25. It's a joke. But should we stop it? Should we stop these companies? Well, I think there's fair game to be had in saying, well, we don't want you in our country. We don't want you fucking up our job markets. Yeah, I don't really agree with any of these. It's fucked up, but like you're not really gonna stop it. The best you can do is have your leverage your own power against the state and the corporations. That's what I would say. Free speech. We should ban and penalize every offensive language. I mean, freedom of speech is that's pretty sacred. I would say, if anything is. What is this? You should have the freedom to say anything. It's not illegal until you actually take an illegal action based on the speech. Yeah, right. Most important espionage agents. Espionage, another form of government tyranny. You should not even have a foreign. It's sneaky. Yeah, like, I mean, if you want to do it on your own time, go ahead, but don't use my fucking money to pay for it. Fuck you. No, I don't. Not have any espionage. Yeah, I agree. Climate change. Honestly, I don't even give a fuck. We're just too far gone. I mean, I believe in it. I believe in climate change is real. Obviously, I mean the climate fucking changes. That shouldn't be a controversial issue. But as to what we do about it, I just like the position that hey, we're pretty much fucked, and we're just gonna people are just gonna do what they want, and fuck it, invest in private jets. If they're not gonna let people fly in this country anymore on the do not fly list, then fuck it, invest in private jets. They're not gonna ruin my fucking good time. Abortion. Yeah, I'm pro this. You should have full control over your body, including the right to have an abortion. Yeah, fairly fucking simple. I know a lot of people disagree on that, but oh well. It really doesn't matter if you disagree on it. That's the great thing about abortion. It's like it's completely out of my hands as a man. If I was a woman, I could have abortions all fucking day, and I might as well do that, but I wouldn't know. I'm not a woman, so I can't really Unless I'm paying for the abortion, unless I'm like trying to get a chick to have an abortion. I paid for an abortion before. It was no big deal at all. It was just be careful next time, you know. It was close call, you know. I could be paying child support right now. Thank God for that. Thank God I'm not doing that. All right, religious holidays. I mean, who gives a shit? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of Christmas. Thanksgiving, nah. I know that's not technically a religious holiday, but fuck that shit. Easter, fuck that. I think Christmas and New Year's are the only two holidays with any weight to them anymore because it's just a nice time. All the other holidays fucking suck, like Halloween, fuck that. I mean, what, you just eat candy and watch a bunch of horror movies like a fat fuck? Should guarantee the nation off. I mean, not necessarily. Hey, if people want to work on Christmas, they got nothing better to do. Because not everyone has a fucking family that they want to spend time with. That's a sad thing. But if you're better off getting money, then go fucking do that, man. It's like nobody should be forced to take a day off. That's completely un-American. Religious holidays, the most popular nation. I completely disagree. Fuck it. Prostitution. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, hey, you know me. I'm a huge fan of prostitution. Uh, Regulated. I think it should be people regulated. Fair enough. I mean, there are standards like for testing and shit like that I think should be implemented, but maybe by local government, if anything. There's really no way to be completely sure about it. I mean, you're taking a chance. You're playing a little game of Russian roulette with the AIDS or whatever. When you're fucking somebody that you don't know, obviously you're fucking. Period. There's always a risk involved. So people should be free to do what they want with their bodies. Because if you don't have that, you really don't have any freedom. Private schools. I don't care about this issue at all. Fuck schools. They all suck. National debt. The government controls the currency. Nope. National debt. I don't even believe in that shit. The government doesn't believe in that. They're like, oh fuck, with the debt, who gives a shit? Like, we're never gonna pay you. Fuck you, China. We'll fucking nuke you before we pay you. I feel like that's what they're going for anyway. But what do I know? I'm not a fucking foreign policy expert. I don't care about this issue. Utilities. I'm actually for regulations on utilities because obviously if you don't, then that opens you up to a bunch of fucking pollution, water pollution. I mean, clean drinking water is obviously one of the most important things. We do not have a society without that bare minimum. So, nationalized, they already are to an extent. But, I mean, there are obviously ecological standards. I don't agree they should not be regulated because that would just be stupid. Like, well, somebody could just pour fucking sewage waste in your water. It's like, bro, nobody fucking wants that. Oh, and they'll be like, oh, but just buy bottled water then. It's like, no, dude, do you not understand this shit? That requires regulation too, you fucking idiot. It's like, if companies can get away with it, they will do it. They will do it. They'll find a way to fucking pollute your water and your oxygen supply if they can make money off of it. Because they don't give a shit. They're completely unethical. And they have ways of, like, marketing it so you'll drink it. I mean, look at fucking Coca-Cola. That shit's actual poison, bro. And like, still, record profits. People don't give a shit. As long as it has sugar in it, or it tastes sweet, they'll fucking chug anything with put a fucking skull and crossbones on a label. Americans don't give a fuck. They'll drink it. National utility companies, but not ban private companies. If they can find a market, they can compete. I mean, we pretty much have this already. Consumer goods protection. The government should regulate consumer goods to ensure safety and compliance with standards. But not produce them. Yeah, I agree with that. Deaths caused by police. There should not be a police force. People should determine justice with their own means. Fuck yeah. Now, I'm not naive. Of course, there's going to be externalities in that society, but I still think it's better than, like, the state just coming in and fucking raping and pillaging your community. Because at least if a gang of cowboys comes into your saloon and starts shooting, then you can shoot back without any real prosecution. But you can't do that with the pigs. Regional union plus parliament, like the EU. I mean, fuck. I don't know. I don't even know enough about that, so I'm not going to comment. Right to secession. I do not give a fuck. When military action should be used, we should not have a military. That looks good to me, but I'm not entirely sure the ramifications of that. Because we do have, the fact is, I'm going to put a question mark on that, because the fact is that we do have competing nation states, and I think some form of insurance is good, just in case China or Israel or Saudi Arabia gets out of control. And, but we caused all that too. So we're not blameless in that situation. But nonetheless, drugs. It's a fun one. We should educate our children. When you put in your bodies your own business, legalize drugs so they don't go to the black market. We use drugs to insure people. I'm just making sure that's the best one. The right to your own body is non-negotiable. Surveillance. I'm not a fan of that at all in any case. Nope, I don't. No, government should not have any right to any of this. I shouldn't be looking at most communications. I completely disagree with every one of these philosophies. Flag burning. I really don't give a fuck, but I do support the right. Oh, you were trying to trick me there. Flag burning should be regulated for safety. Fuck you. Yeah, remember when some guy burnt a flag and then he destroyed a small town? Remember that? Never happened. It's never happened. Aren't you supposed to burn the flag too? Like, as soon as it gets too old or something? There's like a government sanctioned method to do it. So the government itself are total hypocrites on this, and they know it. And that's why even the Supreme Court was like, yeah, this is an obvious case of free speech. The role of people in policy. I support flag burning, by the way, in general. Not because I hate the flag, but because I love fire. The role of people in policy. The population as a collective can understand and make good decisions in terms of policy with a little bit of explanation to be able to decide what they... No, that's not true at all. The wealthy tend to know what they want and have good opinions, but the poor rarely... No, not necessarily. The general population has bad opinions, and the government would be better off without their opinion. Fuck the government. Other people's opinions should not have an effect on what you are allowed to do. That's too broad. People must be given a say, but government must try to avoid the tyranny of the majority by having more local revenue. Too long. The population generally knows what they want, but cannot be expected to have the time and research and vote on each issue and delegate. Well, we should support education. I would have to... Wow, I completely disagree with all of those. Whistleblowers. Whistleblowers who are revealing information that the people have a right to know should be protected and regarded as heroes. Yes. Let me make sure that's the best one. Make reports with the proper channels. Yeah, I mean, whistleblowers are... They're the best case for patriotism that I've seen. Concentration of power. Power must be decentralized to everyone, with important decisions ultimately decided through frequent national referenda. People generally know what they want, are able to understand issues. Again, I disagree with that. We need a single leader above all. Fuck no. We should distribute power by region in the nation. No. Nobody should have the power to make laws. People should have the freedom to decide for that. I don't know. Power should be concentrated according to wealth. No. Only those who have served in the military and potentially risked their life for the nation. Are you kidding me? Power should be distributed to everyone through a large legislative body. Fuck no. Policy should not be set by politicians, but by experts. Yeah, the scientists. Wow, okay, another one. I completely disagree. Fuck all of those. Prayer in school. Don't care one iota. Genetic engineering. Genetic engineering should not only be elaborate. No, government should not stand in the way of genetic engineering. What does that even mean? Like, if they're literally making babies in test tubes, yeah, I think that place should be Molotoved to the ground, in my opinion, because that's just not human. These are like these scientists, a lot of these eugenicists and shit, like Bill Gates or whoever. Like, they're funding scientists to just be like Frankensteins all over the world. They're just trying to like replace humans with some other shit. And I of course I'm not for that. Why would I be for that? That would be completely against my interests. Inhumanly perfect babies who can outperform the poor. I actually agree with that. Now, I will say this with a caveat. If you want to go in and have a surgery or something, like genetically engineer your own body, then that's completely within your rights. You should be able to do that. But if you're doing, like, these fucking, like, they're putting these kids on puberty blockers and shit like that, like, there's no justification for that at all. That is child abuse, and those people should be shot, whoever's doing that. And just fuck those parents. But that's the problem, really. And the sad thing is that is the best system we're going to get. Is just parents can do whatever they want. They can fiddle their kids. They can beat their kids. They can fucking, indoctrinate them however they wish. Because that is their parental rights until the community decides to step in and stop it, which they rarely ever do. So, but that's a separate discussion. I disagree with genetic engineering. Reproductive incentives. This is an interesting one because this is really the big conversation. This is the big enchilada that we're having right now in the conspiracy bubble, because we're really debating, like, COVID, or however you want to define it, how many people are going to die. Really, how many people are they trying to kill with this bioweapon that we know was engineered in a lab? How many people are actually going to be affected by this? So we can't really know what a stable population growth would be until we see the full extent of, what's going to happen over this next decade. So I do think we're overpopulated in general, and I think that's why people are so shitty to each other. I think if there were less people, we would have more of an incentive to respect each other. Now you could say, oh, but back then in the Wild Wild West, people would just shoot each other. True. It was the same shit or worse. There was slavery, etc. However, they were not as advanced back then. They were tribalist because they were specifically unevolved. And with the age of the internet and new technology and all this, we know that we are a far more advanced species. Like, there are practically zero racists. Not zero, but they're, like, now we're at the point where it's like racism. Either everybody's a little bit racist, or there's no racism, or it's systemic racism, but it's not like it was 50 years ago. And that much we can agree on. So, but if it's my opinion, I personally don't want kids. I think they're a liability. in every conceivable way. You're playing Russian roulette because you really don't know how they're going to end up. They could be mentally ill. They could be retarded. You really don't have a whole lot of control, especially when society is dictating their norms and values. So those with genes that the state, let's get into this one. Those with genes that the state wants should have children and have children often. Those with poor genes should not be allowed to. I don't know. We should encourage our native citizens to have more children by offering to. No, I don't agree with that. The Earth has a limit to the population it can support, and while we should not have strict controls, we should incentivize people to limit the number of children. Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Districts. Representatives should represent an equal amount of land. I really do not give a fuck about this issue. Religious statements on national memorials. No, that's free speech, but I really don't give a shit because I don't like religion. Artificial intelligence. We should fully embrace AI. I don't know. I don't care. Universal basic income. Yeah, this is an interesting idea. I think because it works in Alaska, and I think it's a nice thing to have. So, I mean, I'm for it. I support it. Consisting of profits from government-run companies distribute their successes. Yeah, let's go with that. Minimum wage. All companies should be required to split their profits fairly throughout their employees. No, there should be a moderate living wage that won't put small businesses out of business, as well as a tax on large companies with many workers below the poverty line to pay for any welfare their employees receive and ensure small... That's interesting. I might come back to that. People should produce as they can and consume what they need. Concept of money should not exist. Well, you can say that, but that's a little idealistic for my tastes. There should be a national program that guarantees a job with a wage that people can live comfortably on, working on things such as better infrastructure. I don't necessarily disagree with that either. There should be no minimum wage. The markets will figure out. No, we see what happens in that case. Workers should have a minimum wage to prevent a race to the bottom, but executives develop ideas and take risks in founding and thus deserve. I don't care about that. People should be guaranteed a living wage from their jobs. They should be able to work a single job with reasonable hours and guarantee. Yeah, should. There's another should. Majority of working people should be paid the value of their labor with a minimum. Fucking shit. Would you rather have a tax? So these are the two best answers. Would you rather have a tax on large companies, which I'm for, especially if they're like government owned? There should be a national program that guarantees a job with a wage. That might actually be better than taxes, because if you're the large company, if by some small metric you make it that far, you're obviously going to try and wiggle your way out of that as a businessman. So I do think that poor people who just want a job, of course, they should be guaranteed that job. But there are caveats with that, like you're seeing now vaccine mandates, which are... I don't know how you justify it at this point, because the spread of virus isn't a good enough reason. It's just not. Because if the virus was that bad, then it would be chaos. There would be no room for government to step in and be like, this is what we have to do. It's like, dude, we would have zero order if we had like an Ebola outbreak or something like that. People just shitting their pants. Joe Biden would be getting on. His face would fucking cave in. So I don't buy this horseshit notion that the government can solve this problem at all. So yeah, I agree. You want a job, let the government give you a job. I'm for, yeah, everybody should be able to live on, if they work. Pretty basic. All right, elections. Elections. I'm not even involved with that. Fuck that. I don't care. No rulers, no masters. United Nations resolutions. Don't care. Leader selection. No leaders. Already covered that. Healthcare. Touchy subject right here. Healthcare. All right, let's get into it. Both healthcare and treatment should be directly provided and guaranteed to all citizens by the nation. I used to believe this very strongly. I think I still believe it, kind of, but I've been proven wrong by the healthcare. There's no winning with this government as it exists, obviously. I would say now I'm mainly a fan of like state and local governments taking care of this, because I can't justify the private profit incentive when it comes to people's health. I'm not going to do that because it's completely unethical. We've seen how it works. We've seen that it's a total and utter failure. We're the only country in the developed world. We're the only developed nation. I think there's like 2 nations in Africa that don't guarantee healthcare to their people. And they have different degrees of success, but it's still pretty shocking. It's fucking shocking that we're the only nation that doesn't even pay lip service to the idea that our people should have healthcare, let alone implement it in any sane and rational way. So I'm gonna say, I'll put a question mark on it. But I do believe in universal healthcare. I think it's a good. I won't say I believe in it, but I think it's a good idea to strive towards. Foreign aid. The affairs of other nations do not matter to us. There's no reason to send foreign aid. Yeah, I agree with that. Power for policy setting. Have a little vitamin C. And also some vitamin D and zinc pills. The problem with these pills, though, is if I take them on an empty stomach, then I'll just throw them up within 5 minutes. So, again, I'm playing Russian roulette here. But let's go for it. An elected national legislative branch should be primarily the one to set policy. No, power should lie with the people directly. Who should initiate legislation through citizen initiative? I mean, I'm for that, but let's keep going. Policy setting power should lie within the executive branch. No. Share between national and local governments roughly equal. There's no such thing as equal. Wealthy as individuals, no. Power to set policy and provincial, no. No person or body should have the power of an individual. We should be free to live our lives. That's probably the best answer. Yeah, I'll go with that. Most important trait in a political leader. We should make all our own decisions. Of course. Election reform. Don't care. They're all rigged. They're all fucked. Death penalty. I don't really care about this either. But like if somebody wrongs you, you should be allowed to like get a warrant and go after them. I think that's a good system. You have to be able to have a certain burden of proof, obviously, because you don't want to prosecute innocent people. But the government does that on a regular basis. And they're the worst ones. So I'm not for the death penalty. I'm for death, I think death is fucking awesome. But I'm not for the death penalty. Okay, so there should be no prisons as such. They should be executed. Well, not by the state, so I disagree with all this. Creationism in school. Schools should be required to teach evolution and evolution alone. Well, there's no winning with that. There's no winning. There's no winning on this issue. It was already decided in a court case. It was a famous play, the one with the monkey or whatever in the 1920s. Because back then you weren't even allowed to teach the science of evolution. So of course you should be allowed to teach whatever within reason. But there's no winning with these kids because education, by definition, is indoctrination. You're indoctrinating young people into certain ways of thinking which brings them into a society like, English, language, math, history, science, and the big debate and huge culture war really revolves around this central issue of how do we guide these people on the correct path. So, and I wouldn't know. I don't think there's a right answer to it because people are shitty, and generally most teachers that I've come into contact with are petty authoritarians and very small-minded. They think like children, and a lot of them are pedophiles too. It's ridiculous. I've known pedophiles in my school personally, and I could call them out. So I disagree with all of it. Immigration. Immigrants caught breaking laws should be deported. Fuck that. Who cares? I'm for open borders. I've said that in the past. Freedom of movement is an essential human right. I agree with that. Of course, there are externalities, there are consequences to it, but the freedom, I believe, is more important. And you know how I know that is because I want the freedom. Like, if I decide, for whatever racist reason, hypothetically, that there are too many black, brown people in this country, where, oh my god, they're taking over, bro, then I think all these fucking hillbillies should have the right to move to Canada or Iceland or whatever ethno-state of their choosing and form their own tribe. That's freedom. So, and the same applies to everyone else. Taxation of religious buildings. Religious buildings should be taxed as the state. Yeah, I'm really within the system that we have now. I don't think that tax exempt status for churches is a positive. Because you have to be a cultist by definition in order to qualify, which is total bullshit. They should be paying the same taxes as everyone else. But at the same time, I'm not really for taxes either, so it's like, I'm just saying you can't have it both ways. Like, you either tax the fuck out of the churches and give us the dividends, which they're not going to do, obviously, or you destroy the whole idea of taxation entirely, which is also going to have consequences. So, yeah, I disagree with all that. International currency. The government should not be regulating currency. People should be free to choose what they accept as pay. If they believe it has value, I agree with that. Yeah. Gun ownership. Those who can demonstrate a need to own a gun should be able to get one. However, again, this is something that's not even worth regulating because it is such a fundamental right of self-defense. It's a dangerous world out there, and the police are not going to protect you. Anyone with a functioning brain knows that. Whether you live in a city or a small town, they're either going to shoot you or they're not going to show up on time. And there's a million different ways it could go. So you're far better off with weapons of your own. Anyone should be able to own a gun and be able to use it when they feel threatened. Pretty much, yeah. When they feel threatened, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? What if it's a crazy person? So I'll put a little question mark, but overall, if you just took the second half and you just said anyone should be able to own a gun, then yeah, I think anyone should be able to own a gun. Definitely. Minority group making language official where spoken a lot. I don't care about that. People speak whatever languages they want. I wish they would teach other languages in America besides English. I mean, I got a little bit of Espanol, but not enough compared to like our population of Mexicans. It's just a shame because in Europe, dude, like you go to fucking Holland, they speak 4 languages on average fluently, perfectly too. They're insanely advanced. And we wonder why our country's retarded and is lagging behind in education. It's just, oh well, representatives. I do not want representation. I want to be able to directly vote on most issues as referenda. I do not want representation. I want the government to be abolished. Well, I agree with both of those, so I want government to be abolished. Yeah, sure. I'll go with that. Highways. We should have many highways be public, but allow private highways to be fuck. As long as I can drive on it, man, I don't give a fuck. I ain't paying no tolls, but hey, if everything becomes a toll, then, I mean, that's gonna suck, but still, better than paying taxes. Religious baker refuses to make gay marriage cake. This is a tricky one. No, this is as tricky. This is a real tricky one because I think this was already decided, if I'm not mistaken, that because it was a specific work of art that went against the cake man's beliefs. You know, he's against gay marriage or whatever. Fucking idiot. I mean, it's a bad business decision overall, but if it's truly against his beliefs to do that, you have to draw a dick on the cake, bro. Like, I can only imagine, like, what was it specifically about the cake recipe that the guy didn't like? It was like, I have to draw like an open goatsy anus with leaky semen coming out of it with the whipped cream. Was that the issue? Was it like super graphic, or was it just, you know, two guys standing on the cake like literally two men dolls holding hands? Or was it just like, you know, happy wedding? It was like completely neutral. So I want to know like the full scope of the narrative here, but the real argument when it comes to should he be obligated to serve them, obviously you can't force him to do that through government. That would be stupid. However, there is a certain expectation when you're in these small, tight-knit communities. It does become a tyranny on a minority. So if you're a gay guy and you have to grow up in the deep south in the 70s, for example, different time, I know people are a lot more accepting now, but at the same time, we don't want to regress back into those old ways of saying, you're not allowed here, you can't go anywhere, you can't shop anywhere. We're seeing that now with, you know, unvaccinated people. We're seeing that same thing. We are regressing into that. That's the thing, but it just applies to a different minority. So does that mean I'm going to support discrimination against one minority over another? No, I would be a hypocrite on that. So let's see. A couple should be arrested. No, people should never be mandated to do anything. Well, I agree with that, but at the same time, there's like they should have the right to sue him, which is I think was their that was their backlash, right? There are legit discrimination grievances in the law that, you know, if we just allowed people to discriminate on anything, then we would never have gotten the equality, the historical laws that ended discrimination. So it's like, would Alabama then reinforce that if we didn't have that? And there's a real possibility that they would. I'm not going to lie. The baker is being asked to make something against his religion. He should have no obligation to create something. Look, I'm not going to defend that shit. I'm not going to defend homophobia. I'm just not. Unless they were asking him to draw an graphic image. Well, that doesn't matter. Fuck that. It's his fucking job, you know? This is unacceptable discrimination and homophobia. This man should not be in business. Yeah, I mean, I basically agree with that. That's not to say should not be in business. I agree with that part. If you added something that says that the cops can come in and, like, shut this place down or whatever, I mean, like, nobody wants this issue. It's just bitch shit that we're dealing with at this point. It's like, yeah, the gay guys could go to another bakery. They could go to another town. But if you extended that argument, if you took that argument to its logical conclusion, then you could end up in a situation where they wouldn't be accepted anywhere, right? Over a certain period of time. Especially when you're asking them to make a fucking wedding cake that supports a special occasion. I'm going to put a question mark on that. Refugees. We should accept refugees only if they are able to offer something to our nation. I don't care. I really don't care. Come in. Come one, come all. Fucking Statue of Liberty breastfeeding your ass. I don't give a shit. Bank crashing that will damage the economy. Okay. National government-owned bank, no. We should bail out the bank, no. Bank should not exist in any form. What does that even mean? We should purchase this bank and run it as a national bank, no. We must not interfere with the free markets. It will fail and eventually, I mean, maybe. The issues that we have private mega banks, that's certainly, they all suck. We should break up the big banks before they get to a situation. Yeah, I mean, we should break up the big banks. I'm for that. I'm for that. But I'm not for government doing it. I'm for the free market doing it. Okay, great. Finally, we're done. All right, here are the results of the quiz.